Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Recovery Classroom. My name is Drew, and I am an alcoholic, and welcome to 2024. And today, by the grace of God, I am a recovering alcoholic, and I couldn't be more thankful. My son and I were out yesterday, and we drove past one of the liquor stores that I used to frequent a lot. And I looked over, and there was just a mass amount of people just rushing in. And I thought back to, New Year's Eve day of 2020 and how panicked I was. Oh my God, they're going to run out of my booze. They're going to run out of my drink. And I got to get in there and get as much of it as I can so I don't run out on New Year's Day. Or next week or whatever. I remember just, how insane that was for me I was always worried about my next drink, always worried about protecting my next drink. And I just kind of smiled at myself and I was like, thank God I don't have to live like that anymore. Thank God I don't have to have that fear and that panic and that anxiety. Thank God I didn't wake up today. Thank God I didn't wake up today going, oh shit, what did I do? As I drove by, like I said, I was thankful to myself, thinking to myself how happy I am that I'm not trapped like that anymore. But in the same breath, my heart kind of broke too, because there were so many people going into that liquor store, just like I used to do. And I wondered to myself, how many of them feel like I used to feel back in early 2021? How many people running in that liquor store to get their drinks for the night? Sure, I know there's people going in there just to celebrate the occasion. I get that. But how many people were like me? They were going in out of desperation because they were afraid they weren't going to have their drink. How many people woke up today, yourself included, going, I drank too much, or I did too much. I used too much last night. Maybe you woke up and the lights are too bright. Here, maybe the lights are too bright in here. Let me turn one of these off. There we go. Is that better? All right. Maybe you got a pounding headache and my microphone is too loud. I don't know if I can turn that down or not. Maybe you've reached that point. You've gone, man, I never need to do that again. Do you have that fear, that shame, that guilt, that remorse of what you did last night that you don't remember? I don't have to live like that anymore. Neither do you. I firmly believe, I made all those foxhole prayers is what we call them. God, just let me recover from this and I'll never do that again. At the time we make those prayers and we say those prayers, we mean it. We mean every fucking word of it. Trust me, I know I meant every single word of it. But January 1st, whenever I woke up on 2021 and I was hungover, and I was like, oh, I'll never do that again. Well, by that night, I was already pitching into my next bottle that I had stocked up on. We mean it. We mean those foxhole prayers whenever we pray them, but somewhere along the line, we forget about those foxhole prayers. We forget about that shame, fear, guilt, remorse. We forget about all those emotions we're feeling right now when we first wake up. Did you wake up that way? Because the good news is you don't ever have to wake up that way ever again. With that being said, I want to talk about, last week in the QA session, we go to, every week actually, we go and we meet with people and talk with people who have experienced the same emotions that you're experiencing today, have experienced the same emotions that I experienced back in, 2021 and before. They have a lot of great questions that come in, and not all the time do we there's sometimes we don't have a chance to get to every single question. So I've got a couple of them here from the QA that I want to talk about today. One of the first questions that came in that we weren't able to get to was, what advice do you have for someone early in recovery and for someone that may be new to the rooms? Well, my first bit of advice is to pay attention to what you're paying attention to. Pay attention to who you're paying attention to. Surround yourself with like-minded people, but be careful. You want to surround yourself with like-minded people who have what you want. And what I mean by that is, had I come in the rooms and somebody sitting there going, if you want what I have and want to be happy, joyous, and free, well, if that's what you have to offer, I'm not sure I want that. One of the traditions of AA talks about, we are based, our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. Well, happy, joyous, and free doesn't sound too very attractive to me, especially if I'm a newcomer coming into the room. So if you're a newcomer, I encourage you. There are a plethora of meetings out there. There are a ton of meetings out there. If you go to meetings, you're never going to know which meetings work and which meetings don't. but you're never going to know until you go, right? Go to a meeting. If you're not getting fed out of that meeting, find another one. There's a ton of them. If you're still having trouble, reach out to somebody in the recovery classroom. Shit, we'll try to find a meeting for you. We'll try to find a meeting for you wherever you may live. But it's important. Pay attention to what you're paying attention to, and surround yourself with like-minded people who have what you want. And then the most important thing I think that I can piece of advice is be patient. I'm the most impatient person that I can think of, and that's still even now still a struggle for me. So just be patient. Time takes time is what Matt always tells me, and he's right 100%. How do intimate relationships early in recovery work? Well, very simply, they don't. More often than not, they don't. Matter of fact, there's an unwritten rule in the rooms and in any 12-step program that you don't want to get into a relationship within the first year of your sobriety, and you don't want to get out of a relationship. In other words, you don't want to make any major changes in your life within that first year. Now, again, there are some exceptions, but that's where I encourage you to get with your qualified sponsor, talk with them about it, and get their feedback. But more often than not, what happens is people, they'll get sober they'll be clean and sober for 2-3 months, and they go, oh, I've got this, I'm good, and look, I've met Susie over here, and she's the love of my life. Well, I remember back 2 and 3 months wasn't enough time for me to learn how to love myself. So how in the blue hell am I going to possibly learn how to love Susie? All right? You can't truly love someone until you learn how to love yourself. And me personally, I could not do that within 3 months, 6 months. It took me time. It took me time to learn how to love myself. So I encourage you, work with your qualified sponsor, talk with them about it, and get their feedback. Here's a great question. It's hard for me to love my girl from a distance knowing she needs help because I want to help her. How do I help her? Well, you can't help anyone until you learn how to help yourself, kind of in the same thread of what I just said. You have to learn to love yourself. You have to learn to be able to take care of yourself in order for you to show somebody else how to love themselves and show somebody else how to take care of themselves. I call it the airplane mindset. When you're on an airplane and the masks come down, they always say, put your mask on first before you go helping somebody else. Put their mask on. Otherwise, you can't breathe. Well, that's exactly how it is early in recovery is, if we're not taking care of ourselves first, if we're not fixing ourselves, how in the hell can we possibly expect to fix anyone else? So I come in early recovery and I try to help somebody else whenever I'm not fixed. The next thing you know, they fall apart. Well, that makes me feel even worse than what I already felt before. And next thing you know, I've regressed. I've gone backwards. So I encourage you, help yourself first before you can help anyone else. That's probably the best solution you can have. Complacency. That was another topic that came up. Complacency is how I got in the rooms in the first place. Complacency is whenever I say, oh, I got this. I don't have a drinking problem. I don't have a drugging problem. I can manage this. I talked about it yesterday whenever I was going through the 12 steps and how to apply them. For me, the first step is the only step I have to get right every single day. And that eliminates complacency. Whenever I wake up every morning and go, I don't got this, I can't take that drink today. If I take that first drink, I'm going to go right back. Every day when I wake up and I admit that I'm powerless over my addiction, I admit that my life is unmanageable. If I do that every single day, I'm pretty much good. I mean, granted, I still have to be vigilant, be alert, but if I'm doing that, if I'm admitting to myself and to everybody that I can't take that first drink today, that I am powerless over my addiction and my life has become unmanageable, if I admit that to everybody, complacency, it doesn't have a place in my day. And so that's how I avoid complacency. And lastly, can you talk about surrender and what it means and how to surrender to your higher power? Well, it's simple. For me, step 3 talks about turning our will and our lives over to the care of a God of my own understanding, as I understand Him. And our will is what I think. Our lives are the cumulative sum of all my actions. And every day I say, Lord, this is what I want. This is what I think I should be doing, but I need your guidance. And He will steer my course. But I have to be willing to let things play out. I have to be willing to let Him keep his hand on the steering wheel. Let him drive the vehicle, because anytime I drive it, God knows I end up in a ditch. So with that being said, I'll let you guys go. I hope you guys have a happy new year. Again, if you guys need anything, feel free to reach out to any of us here in the Recovery Classroom. We'll do whatever we can to help you guys out. Thank you guys for letting me come in and share 5 to 10 minutes of your day with you. You guys absolutely keep me sober, and I couldn't be more appreciative. We'll talk again soon. Remember, guys, you can't get drunk if you don't take that first drink.